This is Miss Humbert here, and we're going to be doing Unit 1, Notes 6. So we're going to talk about writing inequalities. So today we're just going to do some word problems with the stuff that we were working on yesterday. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So let's start by reading this through. Now, a lot of these that we set up are going to be in standard form. Remember, this chart that you made earlier on in the unit, these words on the side here will really help you figure out what type of symbol you need to use. So I just having that note sheet out while you're working on it. So let's take a look at this. So when we're doing inequalities of two variables, we talked about how we actually have to graph it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. All right, so let's take a look at this one. So Hannah budgets $30 a month on lunch. On most days, she brings her lunch. She can also buy lunch at the cafeteria or at a fast food restaurant. So let's let X represent the days that she buys lunch in the cafeteria. And let's let Y represent the number of days that she buys lunch at a restaurant. So here are our options. Okay, so now we need to set this up. So what I notice is for every X day, that I'm at the cafeteria, it's going to cost me $3. For every Y day I eat at the restaurant, it's going to be $6. Whatever this adds up to be per month, I cannot spend more than $30. So whatever I spend needs to be less than or equal to $30. So now in order to graph this, I need to solve this for Y. So this is a positive 3x. So to get it over to the other side, I'm going to subtract 3x. So then we have 6y is less than or equal to a negative 3x plus 30. So now again, to solve for y, I need to divide both sides by 6. Now a lot of students get confused and they ask me how I assign which variable to what. I typically do the first one as x, the second one as a y, and honestly it doesn't matter as long as you're labeling and telling me which one's x and which one's y. So here now we're taking negative 3 divided by negative 6. Well, that's going to reduce to a negative 1/2 x. 30 divided by 6 is going to be 5. So this represents now our equation that we need to graph. So let's go ahead and let's pull over our graph and let's graph it. So we're crossing the y-axis at 5. So then our slope is negative 1/2. So I'm going down 1 over 2. And plotting that point. I see there's a line underneath, so the line that I'm graphing is going to be solid. And then I need to shade down. So I'm shading in this region right here. Okay, so what does all this shading mean? Well, every single point that you find in the shading region is a possible combination of lunches at the cafeteria and lunches at the restaurant that she can have. Okay, so keep that in mind as we move forward. Let's take a look at number 2. So, Rose Padilla sells radio advertising in 30-second and 60-second time intervals. Okay, so what I want to do is we have up to 15 minutes. So X is the number of 30-second and Y is the number of 60-second. So 15 minutes, well that's in minutes. So I actually want to put my X and Y in terms of minutes. So for every X 30-second commercial I have, I'm going to write that as 1/2 because 30 seconds is 1/2 of a minute. For every Y 60-second commercial, it's just going to be 1 because it's a 1-minute commercial. Now we need to write out our inequality in slope-intercept form so we can graph it. So I'm going to subtract 1/2 x over to the other side. So then I get y is less than or equal to a negative 1/2 x plus 15. And now I'm ready to graph this. So I'm crossing the y-axis at 15, and then I'm going down 1, right 2, and plotting that point. Again, I have a solid line underneath. The reason why it's solid is I could have exactly 15 minutes. The solid line that I just drew represents the options if we wanted to have exactly 50 minutes. Now, we could choose to have less than 15 minutes, which is why we're going to shade this in. So I pick a spot on the line and I shade down. And I'm going to shade in this region right here. So every point in here represents a different combination of 30-second and 60-second commercials we could use to be at or under that 15 minutes for our commercials. Next, let's take a look at number 3. So Lee Cooper writes and edits a short article for a local newspaper. It takes about a half an hour or an hour to write an article and about a half an hour to edit article. So she works up to 8 hours in one day. So whatever we spend writing and editing needs to be less than that 8 hours. Okay, so let's let X represent our writing. Let's let Y represent our editing. So for every X hour we spend writing, it's 1. For every Y hour, it's 1 hour. So for every time we spend editing, well, that's only going to be a half an hour. So I'm going to write that as 1/2. Well, now we need to solve this for X. So I'm going to subtract X over to the other side. And then I get 1/2 Y is less than or equal to negative X plus 8. Well, in order to get rid of that 1/2 Y, I'm going to have to multiply by 2. So I'm going to take and I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So then I get Y is equal to, now I'm multiplying that whole thing by 2. Y is less than or equal to negative 2X plus 16. So this inequality right here represents that word problem. I want you guys to go ahead and graph this on your own. Let's take a look at this one. I'm going to get this kind of set up, at least the variable set up, and then I want you to go ahead and write it on your own. So it gives us on the x-axis that X represents the large pizza. So X is going to be your large pizza. Y is going to represent your pop. So note that you cannot spend more than $60. Each large pizza is 12, each pop is 3. So I want you to write an inequality, solve it for Y, and graph it. This one will be on your Schoology quiz. Okay, let's take a look at this. At Six Flags in Chicago, there's a flat admission fee of $25. So what I know about that is that doesn't matter. X doesn't matter. So we show up, it's going to be $25. For every special attraction, X, you want to go on, it costs $5. And so Y represents the total cost of our trip to Six Flags. Typically when you go on a trip, you have a budget. You have a certain amount that we can spend. So whatever we spend, we want to be less than or equal to whatever our budget is. So Y represents our budget. So this one right here is just ready for us to graph right now. Now, we don't go up to 25 on this graph. So I'm going to have to change my scale a little bit. So I'm going to go by 2s. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. And so halfway between 24 and 25, or 24 and 26 is 25. Now my slope is 5. Okay, so then I'm going to go up 5. So I'm going to go up 2, 4, and then 5 is going to be here, and then over 1. And so I'm going to graph that. Okay, so let's make a note of this. So for my X, I went by 1, and this is going to represent the price. For my Y's over here, I'm going by 2, and Y kind of represents my budget money. So now I need to actually do the inequality portion. So I want to pick and I want to be shading so that my budget is the most and whatever I spend is less than. So since it's greater than or equal to, I'm going to pick a spot on my line and go up. So I'm shading then in this region right there. Those represent the solution that will keep me below budget. All right, so let's take a look at this. The National Honor Society is doing a fundraiser dance at FHS. So it costs $125 for the DJ. And the admission is $6. Write and graph the inequality represent the total number of money, Y. So we're trying to raise money. So whatever we raise, we want to be greater than or equal to what we make. So for every X student that comes in, it's going to cost $6. But we have to take off that initial $125 that we were given for the DJ. So the graph that you guys have on yours isn't going to work. So why don't you just look at mine to make it easier? So we're going to go down 5, 10. So 10s won't work. And so let's do maybe 25. So 25, 50, 55, 25, 50, 75, 100. So 125 would be about here. So now to go up 6, I'm going to be barely going upwards. So I'm going to go up just a little bit each time because I'm only going up 6 and over 1. I can't go up the full 25. Now I want to shade above. So I'm going to pick a spot on my line and I'm going to shade above. So this right here is your final answer for this one. So that concludes your note video today. Please go ahead and do your Schoology quiz once you're done, and thanks for listening.